It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling.
Hello, I hope that I have marginally fixed my audio issue. I know with this new method, the audio has been a little
wonky.
It hasn't been so great, and I have tried really hard this week to make it at least marginally better. So I hope my efforts are
Seen.
Or actually, I hope my efforts are heard. For today's video, I'm doing a fall DIY from, I think I got most of this stuff at the Dollar Tree. I think it is. Yeah, it's a Dollar Tree DIY from the fall. A fall Dollar Tree DIY. I've kind of been collecting these things over a few years, and finally I had a full drawer full of just fall themed things. I actually did a fall DIY around the same time last year, so I guess, I don't know, it's an annual thing. We've done it 2 years in a row, so I guess that makes it annual now. Here are the fall things I have from the Dollar Tree. We've got pumpkins, sunflowers, hay, ribbon. Ironically, the one thing that's not fall themed in this pile is the Christmas house, and we're starting with that. It has a lot of Christmas stuff on it. There's 2 Christmas trees and a wreath on the front door, but I'm gonna change it. It's from the Dollar Tree, as I said. We're taking off that to reveal that there is a tiny hole that I'll have to figure out how to cover later. Let's start painting. I'm using this plate, which is a plastic plate. I can assure you it's not made of glass. Someone thought it was, it's not. I'm using black paint because at first I was like, oh, let me do a Halloween themed spooky house. But as I started painting it, I was like, this is so not me. So I took out my gesso and decided to cover that up. The process of covering this up was quite spooky. You start to look at this and you're like, what is going on? Why is everything kind of gray? Haunting. In defense of my original idea, the idea with a black house, I was going to do black with neon colors. And that is kind of fun, but it also doesn't really look like fall. To me, here we have 2 options. In Christmas, you do a gingerbread house because that's themed after a food item. So then I was thinking, okay, what's a food item in the fall? It's either a pumpkin spice latte or an apple something, apple cinnamon, apple spice, apple cider. I can think, I know what's going on. I decided to go with pumpkin spice latte. I don't actually like eating pumpkin spice lattes, drinking them. We drink lattes. Oh my gosh, I think I'm tired. Thematically though, pumpkin spice lattes are obviously adorable. They're just 100% adorable to all people at all times. So I thought, how cute would it be if I made a little pumpkin spice latte house with a bunch of tiny pumpkins living inside? Obviously adorable. At this point, I've painted the walls pumpkin, I've painted the roof whipped cream, I've painted the door and window coffee. So now it's time to create coffee bean string of lights. That's not English. I think we know what I'm saying though. Lattes have coffee in them, so it's obvious that instead of having a string of lights, they would have a string of coffee beans. I mean, if we're just keeping up with the math of things. It's time to think about what's in the house, behind the windows, who lurks. Instead of saying who goes there, we can say who lurks there. Who is behind the window, kind of lurking in the shadows, peeking out. That was what I was considering as I painted these windows. I also added some lighting to the window walls, kind of make it look a little bit more like there's some warm light going on. In the process of doing that, I did ruin the wood window frames, but that's okay. I went back over that, fixed it up, made it a nice straight line again. And now we're moving on to the cream. I've already painted the cream on the roof and on the top window, but I didn't paint it on the bottom 2. I also stopped filming somehow and missed adding some orange pumpkin sauce. I don't know, do pumpkin spice lattes have like a sauce or they use caramel? I don't know, I just figured like we needed an extra color, so I added some of that to the whipped cream. After that, I dipped into a darker brown color and outlined the windows with that. I felt like it just needed some darker colors so that it would look more 3-dimensional like the top window did. I also added that darker color to the front door. I added a front door stoop and a thing that's holding the wreath. The wreath that keeps changing colors, just ignore that. I also started painting some residents for this home. There are going to be several pumpkins that live at this address. On the left and right side of the door, instead of creating a Christmas tree that's not on theme, we added 3 pumpkin stacks. In the top window, we have one pumpkin that is lurking. On the bottom right, we also have another pumpkin lurking. And in the bottom left window, of course, we have another lurker. After I had given this home a sufficient amount of residence, I mixed together another shade of that pumpkin color, a little darker this time, and added it to the outsides of the home. I also started to add some shading to the pumpkins themselves, and I mixed together this brown-green color, mixed brown and green together, and used that for the stems on the pumpkins. Each of these pumpkins don't really have a personality yet, but I feel like adding the stem kind of starts that. The direction of it, you kind of get a feel for what they might be thinking, what their personality is like. Of course, the pumpkin that is opening the door for us is the friendliest, and he has a mohawk. I'm taking out these mini bales of hay. I got these at the Dollar Tree. I'm pretty positive they are just blocks of foam with sawdust on them, but they do look like bays. What is it called? A bay of hay? No. A bale of hay. Oh my gosh, I had to Google it again. I Googled it 3 times already trying to describe this. We're gonna move on. By the time I was done gluing these on, the sawdust got everywhere. I had to wipe that away, and then I took out my orange ribbon. I tied it into a cute little bow, put some hot glue on it, and decided, let me use this at the top of the house to cover that tiny hole, but also because it looks so cute. Since I will not be hanging these up, I need a method to make it stand. I flipped it over and decided to hot glue more of this hay to it so that it could stand on its own. And here we have the final result of my pumpkin spice latte home. Thematically, I am obsessed. I love the little pumpkins in the windows. I think they are so funny. I like their expressions. I think just the concept is really funny to me. So in that sense, I really like this. Is this the best painting job ever? No, I was going kind of quickly because I had a sleeping baby that was kind of waking up from a nap, and I was like, oh my gosh, he might wake up. But when I look at this, I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cute. I like it. Let's move on to our next DIY, which is going to use these cylindrical gift boxes that I also got from the Dollar Tree. There's 2 different sizes, and if you put them together, stack them, it kind of looks like a cake, a very large cake. I'm removing the lids because those are basically useless, and I'm taking out my white gesso. My gesso is still sealed together. I did have to run it under hot water off camera, but yep, I got it to open, and then I decided let's paint both of these boxes white. These gift boxes have like a shiny material on top of it. I don't know what that is, but it would definitely not have regular paint stick to it. Of all the projects that I have used gesso on in the past, this project in particular, gesso was essential. I did have to use 2 coats of gesso, but once that was done, I was ready to start decorating. I'm becoming a cake decorator for this video. No, I do not have any experience decorating cakes, nor is this a real cake, but I think we're gonna just pretend. Let's take out our cake decorating materials. We have these sunflowers. I got them from the Dollar Tree. They're made out of paper. They are super cute. I also have these pumpkins, which are small and cute. I just happened to buy this scarecrow kit. It just called to me. There are these pumpkin shish kebabs that kind of look like candles, these curly ribbons, and this roll of sparkly ribbon. Pumpkin, spice, everything nice. These are the materials I will use to decorate my cake. But first we have to paint the cake. I've decided to paint the bottom tier with this tangerine color. It's the same color that I used on the pumpkin spice latte house from before. I really like this color because it's like a pastel orange color. When you take a real vibrant orange color, there's something about it that it's like, whoa, what's going on? On the top tier, we're doing a tan color, and you'll notice I did not actually clean my brush, which I like because it's creating a fun cake effect. You know those cakes that have kind of different colors on it, on the edges? I don't know, I'm just gonna insert a picture so you know what I'm talking about. This is what I'm creating, and I really like the results. It really looks like one of those cakes. In a way, if you squint. Okay, icing's done, and it's time to take out our chocolate sauce. I guess this is kind of an icing, right? No, it's actually like chocolate drips, right? People melt chocolate chips and then they drip it down the sides of the cake. That's what I'm doing here, obviously, with some puffy paint. My drips did start out a little wonky. The first one was a little sideways, but I think as I started to get going, they started to become a tiny bit more
straight.
I mainly like that it really looks like it could actually be chocolate, which is what we're going for here. On the top, I did put chocolate sauce around the perimeter of the circle. I did not do it towards the center because this is going to have the tiny one stacked on top. I'm not wasting all of my puffy paint on this project, just the majority of it. I'm using my disgusting hot glue gun to glue the second tier to the bottom tier. I just added some hot glue to the perimeter of this circle and then stuck it right into the chocolate sauce. That'll dry up real nice. That's looking good, and I'm taking out this vinyl adhesive caulk. I know what it's called. I used this caulk around a year ago in my fake food video. Basically what I do is just take out an icing piping tip, tape it around that caulking bottle, and it does come out looking like icing if you do it correctly. At first, I did do it wrong. Surprise, surprise. I was trying really hard to do this correctly. It was looking okay, and then it kind of went awry. Throughout the process of using this, I did figure out what was wrong. My caulk was very cold, and it was hard to press out of the tube. But as I kept using it, and I do use it later in the video, it warmed up just because my hands were around it. And I did eventually go back to this and fix it, so just ignore this. It looks like a mess. But we're gonna move on to the sparkly ribbon. I decided to use this sparkly ribbon around the top tier of the cake. I feel like I've seen people use ribbon on cakes before, or at least I feel like in my head I've seen it, so I decided, you know what, that would look cute. I did burn my fingers a few times in the process, and then I took out a toothpick finally and decided to use that instead. I'm smart. I don't burn my fingertips every time I use hot glue. It doesn't take me like 5 tries before I decide to use another material and stop burning my fingertips. Nope. Not me. Alright, this isn't looking too bad. Kinda looks like a cake. I'm taking out the rest of my materials, the things that I'm going to use to decorate the rest of the cake. This plate that I'm gluing the cake to actually was from the Scarecrow pom-pom kit. The first thing I'm doing is going back to my caulk. I am trying to create little things of whipped cream on the bottom. The first 2 came out really bad, I will admit that. It just does not look good. And I think I started to kind of sweat throughout this process. I was like, come on, you will come out of this tube. And then finally, it started coming out and flowing really nicely. I think the way it was intended to flow. Well, I suppose it was never really intended to flow out of the tip of a piping tip, but it is supposed to flow a little easier than the way it was coming out. Anyway, once the caulk was literally warmed up and flowing very nicely, I decided, oh, we can use this on top of the cake. Let's fix this dumpster fire. I added a nice ring around the poopy parts and stuck my pumpkin back in the center, and I think this looks 100 times better. I realized that they do sell a form of this that is specifically meant to create fake whipped cream and fake icing, and I know I could have bought that, but I decided, you know what, let me just use the rest of my caulk. What could go wrong here? As you can see, at this point, I decided to take the pom-poms from the Scarecrow pom-pom kit and add it to the bottom of the cake. That's done, and I'm using my paper sunflowers now. My idea for this was to use the flowers and kind of make them go up the cake around the side. I've seen a lot of wedding cakes that do that. They'll use flowers and do them up the side of the wedding cake. I am clearly not a cake decorator, and I really should have looked at a photo of how this is done before I glued my flowers on, because I couldn't figure out where to put the last flower, and I think I chose the absolute worst spot for it ever. But oh well. Here is what the cake looks like at the end. I like it in the sense that it does look very fall themed, but I look at it and I see all of the things that I did wrong. Like, I placed this flower in the wrong spot. I really should have bought that whipped cream thing from Amazon. The chocolate sauce should be in a different place, and it's just like, I always see the imperfections. But honestly, when I take a step back and I look at the video, I'm like, you know what? I actually do kind of like it. And here we have both of the projects that I did in this video. We have the pumpkin spice latte home, which I like a latte. Had to say it at least once in this video, I'm so sorry. Okay, and then I also have the cake. I really liked doing this video just in general. I felt like the projects were very open-ended and fun, and I also really enjoyed that I got to use my many fall things that I've been collecting. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next Sunday for another video. Bye!